Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the weather, whether good or bad. Uh, Please bless us as we've assembled here online to learn new information that we can benefit from. It's a blessing for us to be able to do this. Please bless everyone that's here, families that are here, whatever everyone may be going through, that you can help take some of the weight off of whatever burdens we may carry. And a special blessing for our speaker, uh, another cool guy named Hal. Thank you for bringing him to us to bless us with a word. Hopefully, we can receive it and put it into play in a way that'll help us out. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping first. Since I don't know if you can see everybody on the call, but the Zoom host will mute everyone while the presentation's going on. And if you have questions that you want to have answered at the end of the session, we have our, I can't see him on my screen, but Carlton Hopkins, I think he should have his name up there that says, question taker. Send him something in the chat, if you have a question or need clarification. And then at the end of the presentation, it's our practice to break out into small groups, and we welcome you to stay if you can, because we talk about what we learned and engage in dialogue, and it's really usually very interesting stuff. So that's a little bit about what we do and how we do it. So let me tell you about Hal Shoffreitt, if I'm saying that right.
Yes,
He's not just some guy I found walking down, downtown Roswell. But Hal was in the Army before law enforcement, in the military intelligence field, was taught Russian, and was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany, and deployed during Desert Storm. He was a police officer in South Florida for 8 years before coming to Alpharetta. Spent 10 years as a detective before transferring to the Community Services Unit, and just passed his 20-year mark with Alpharetta. And we are very thankful to have you here tonight. And so I'm going to turn over the presentation to you. And if there are questions, put them in chat, and our question facilitator will get them.
And just to let everyone know, I'm recording this session so that we can then, have it on the church website. And then additionally, I will turn off the recording when we break into the small group. So those will not be recorded.
I just got kicked off twice and had to refresh. Is there a glitch somewhere? Is that going to happen again?
I don't know why that happened, Susan, and I don't know the answer to that, but I'll kind of keep an eye out to see if you're
okay.
To make sure you're there. But I
okay.
don't know why that would have happened.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and mute all, and then I'll unmute Hal. Okay. And Hal, you can go ahead and unmute.
All right. Did it work?
Yep.
All right. So are we ready?
We are.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys having me. You said my bio. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is how important this message is. So if you guys are ready, we will go right into it. But I have some prefaces before that. Some of these programs are real intense and they're too traumatic for people. And this is not like that. This one, we have some audio clips. We have a couple of little videos, but it's nothing too crazy, nothing too traumatic. And it keeps asking me to unmute. I'm just trying to make sure it's working. So,
yeah.
Okay. The other thing I like to preface is that we're going to talk about maybe they could have done something a little better than what happened. And that is never second guessing anyone. We're never making light of something that happened to a person, because unfortunately these people have gone through these horrific events. So we're just going to talk about what we can maybe learn and what we can do better. So if you guys are ready, we're going to go right into it. So again, this is called CRAZE, which is Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events. Where that comes from, that star that's on the bottom right of the screen, is a company in conjunction with the University of Texas that it's called ALERT, which is Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Readiness Training, which that part doesn't matter, but they've been teaching us for 20 years how to respond to emergencies. So they talk about how law enforcement, fire, the medics, if we responded better, we could have better outcomes. Well, of course, at some point they got to what should you be doing before we get there? That's the whole reason we're here to talk about it. So we're going to go right into it if you're ready. So, and now my screen is not advancing. Give me 1 second. Unfortunately, we're having technical difficulties. It froze up on me. How about that? Did it finally advance?
No,
Because it's advancing on mine now, but it's not.
no,
Huh.
still the same screen on mine.
All right. It just worked for us a minute ago.
Try restarting, Al.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you see that one?
No.
All right. I'm going to restart the PowerPoint to see if that's what it is.
It's just technology reminding us how dependent we are on it.
Well, it just worked a minute
It just
ago.
wants to make that
Hey-
point. and it'll
Hey,
move on.
twin, remember what I tried? If all else fails, unplug your
I
second
did.
screen.
I already
Oh,
did
you
that.
did?
Yes, sir. All right.
There you go.
Now is that, so it won't advance.
Okay.
How about now? Now is it moving?
Yep, there you go.
Boom,
All
there
right.
you go, sir.
Sorry about that.
Eureka.
All right. So the whole reason we're talking about all this is we're talking about disaster response. So what does that mean? We're just trying to figure out what happens when we're under stress. How do we survive these things and what should we be doing? So the background science of it is how we respond, of course, the people, that sounds very callous, but the people that get through these events by having a plan and reacting the quickest are the ones that live. And that sounds terrible, but that's the truth of it. So there's 3 stages. There's denial, deliberation, decisive moment. So the denial phase, even if you're an active hunter, even if you're a shooter, what you've probably never heard is a gunshot at your workplace, at your school, at your church, something like that. So what happens, if someone bursts in here with a gun right now, we know it's not too hard for us to figure that out. But if that sound is a little bit muffled, or if it's a distance away, we deny that. We think, well, maybe it's a car wreck, maybe it's lightning, maybe it's something like that. There's no way this could be something bad, because of course we want normalcy. So we're not going to want to accept that this is a bad thing. So that next stage is deliberation. So I think just like a jury deliberating, we have all this information and we have to start making these choices. So what choices am I going to make? Am I going to go out the door? Am I going to go out the wall? Am I going to go down the stairs? And then there's decisive moment. And that literally is just the decision of what I'm going to do. So my decisive moment is, yes, I'm going through the wall, or I'm going through the roof if I have to. But the point is that as long as I talked about all those things, that was way, way, way too long. We have to recognize there's something bad going on here. We have to have already thought about something bad that could possibly happen to us one day, make a decision, and we have to do it right then. So we're talking about stress response. We talked about that a little bit before. So sitting in here, we should be 60 to 90 beats a minute, something like that. That red zone, the 120, that could be a wonderful spot because that's when you hear adrenaline kicking in. You hear people lifting cars off of people, doing these incredible feats of strength that, that it's just hard to believe we can do. That 150, that 175 range, that's when your heartbeat is going so fast, the blood is flowing so fast through your brain, you get tunnel vision, you can't make decisions, and you can't make up time at that point because you're going to be caught behind the 8 ball. So we're going to talk about ways to bring that stress response back down to somewhere around that 90, 120 range so that we can make the right decisions to get ourselves out of these situations. So Columbine, we always talk about Columbine. Columbine was by no means the first active shooter event, but it was one of the first ones that was live streamed. Bad things happen, unfortunately, and good things sometimes come out of that because many of our protocols have changed. We do things way differently. So we're going to listen to Patty when she called 911. She was a teacher. She hit the kids in the library. We're going to listen to this audio real quick, and then we're going to talk about that. Can you guys hear it?
Yes, I teacher called my high school. There was a student here with a gun. He was shot out a window. I believe one kid. I can call him my high school. I don't know what's in my shoulder. If it was just some last going through it. Okay, is anybody been injured, ma'am? Yes. Okay. And the school is in a panic. And I'm in the library. I've got students down. I want to take this kid. Hands under the table. Our kids are screaming. Some of the teachers are, trying to take control of it. We need to reach him. Okay, we're getting them there. Who is the student, ma'am? I do not know who the student is. Okay. I saw a student outside. I was in Boulder earlier, but okay. I was on Harvard. I saw a gun. I said, what's going on out there? And he said, I was probably something different. It's probably a joke. I said, well, I don't think that's a good idea. And I went walking outside. I said, see what was going on. He turned the gun straight at us and shot. And my God, the window went out. And the kid standing there with me. I think he got hit. Okay. Something in my shoulder. Okay. We've got help on the way, ma'am. Okay. Oh, God. Stay on the line with me. Oh, God. Do we know where he's at? I'm sorry? Do we know where he's at? Okay. On the library. He's upstairs. He's right outside of here. He's outside? He's outside of this hall. Outside of the hall or outside of the hall? Okay. There are alarms and things going off. There's smoke. My God, smoke is like coming into this room. Okay. I've got the kids under the table here. I don't know what's happening in the medical building. Mom said that's smoke in the door, but I don't know. I'm sure someone must be calling 911. Yes, we've got a lot of people on. Okay. I just want you to stay in the line with me. We need to know what's going on. Okay. Okay. I am on the floor. Okay. You've got the kids there. And I saw every student in the library on the floor. You got to stay on the floor. Is there any way you can lock the doors? Smoke is coming in from out there. I'm on the floor. The gun is right out.
That goes on quite a bit more. We're going to go ahead and stop it there because it gets pretty graphic, as you guys know. The main thing with Patty, and again, I preface this with, we're not second guessing people. We're never trying to make light of anyone that's been through something like this. Patty never was taught anything except like a natural disaster drill, like a tornado drill, something like that. So once things started going bad, first of all, there was the denial. She had already been shot in the shoulder. She mentions that at one point, but she's in denial that this event is even happening. And then she's talking about the kids running down the hall. Maybe it's a film production or something like that. And then she finally gets, the kids are in the library. So we have to remember, these are high school kids. There's no library in the world that only has one door in it. These kids, this call, I shortened it, but it lasts about 4.5 minutes. Those kids should have been a mile away from that place. And as you get to the end of the recording, she's saying, kids on the floor, as she's talking to the dispatcher, she's keeping them there. And again, I'm not faulting her. She's doing what she thought was right. Those kids should have been a mile away from that place. So one of the main things that has changed, of course, is all the protocols, our protocols, the dispatch protocols. Towards the end of that, the dispatcher did say, can you lock the door? Can you do something like that? They would have been screaming that from the very beginning. Can you get out? Can you get out? Can you get out? Can you lock the doors? Can you barricade? So of course we have evolved and we have learned. The other sad truth of this was 1999. Officers didn't have, the road officers at least, did not have the heavy weapons and the rifles and the things we have now. So unfortunately, the officers on scene, what they were trained to do was say, yes, this is an active shooter event, call SWAT. SWAT's best response, and this is if they were sitting in the parking lot a couple of miles away, is about 45 minutes. These events, something could change, of course, but in general, these events are over in 5 to 7 minutes. Some of them have gone 12 minutes. So we can't wait for SWAT. And obviously they're coming anyway, but so what happens now is that we all have long guns. If my partner is literally, if he says he's 20, 30 seconds away, I may wait, but otherwise we are going in right away because we know this threat has to be neutralized right away. We're going straight to the threat. We can't help anyone, unfortunately, because we have to stop it first, but no one hesitates, no one stops now. The minute we're there, we're going in to stop the threat. So that's one of the main things, is that our immediate response is right there for you. But I'm kind of skipping ahead. The national law enforcement response time to an active shooter event is 3 minutes. But that sounds great on paper. But what that means, that 3 minutes is when I say on the radio, I'm there on scene. So where are you inside this massive school? You know, I'm trying to find you. It could be 15, 20 minutes, even if I was in the parking lot. So again, we're going to talk about this as we go through. You have to be doing something, and staying there when this threat is way down the hall or in some other corridor is not the answer. You have to get out, get out, get out. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of this stuff as we go through. So I'm going to keep moving if you guys are ready. We're still in that deliberation phase. We're still in that. I've got all this information. What am I going to do? So this is the Station nightclub. So if you guys remember that, so this is up in Rhode Island where the band The Great White was playing, and they had the pyrotechnics. So when you look at this drawing here, those red dots are the exits. And I want you to pay attention to that glass front. It was an old restaurant, like an old Bennigan's or something like that, that was turned into a bar. But you can see in the upper right-hand corner, that's where the fire starts. So there happened to be a reporter in there. So we have this video of when it happened, and he was actually doing articles about overcrowding and poor conditions and these type of things. So what I want you to pay attention to is that when this fire starts, he has the mindset, because obviously that's what he's thinking about, because these bad things have happened before. He starts moving, but you'll see that no one else does. So we're going to watch this for a minute and talk about it. So you can see in the upper right-hand corner, this fire has already started, but no one's paying attention yet. So you see initially everyone's pretty calm. So right here on the right is that big bank of windows I was talking about. So we're going to go ahead and skip past that. I don't know, unfortunately, if you guys have seen the aftermath of that, the people were stacked up in that doorway trying to get out, and many, many died, unfortunately. So within 2 minutes, this place was uninhabitable. We lost 99 people during this fire. And the whole reason they bring this up, fires are horrible. These things could happen, of course, but when you look at those numbers on there, hopefully guys, you can see this, you see that 31 at that front door, that main hallway. Well, of course, when we go into a venue, when we go into a store, we go into the giant church or anything else, we know where we came in. That's just, obviously, we know where we came in. But if we're not looking around, where are these other doors? Where are these other exits? All these people are fighting each other, trying to get out that front door. Like I said, you had 31 people die that were trying to hold on to each other. You've got the exits on the left. You've got the exits to the back of the stage. The back of the stage was probably not accessible because this fire was so horrible. But up at the very top, you have what we call the hiding and hoping people. We say it 1,000 times during this presentation, hiding and hoping is not the answer to any of these events. So you've got people up there, the people in the offices, there's no windows or doors that lead out there. They know this, they can't go anywhere. Unfortunately, they perished right there. You have the people near these other doors that perished. The 18 right there, I point them out. So it's bad enough everyone's going for that front choke point, but these 18 right there, they're all right beside those windows. Why didn't they smash a window out? Why didn't they take the pool cues or the pool sticks or the chairs or anything they had and smash those windows out? Because unfortunately, this is why we're talking about this right now. None of them thought I could get in a fire tonight. No one's ever thought, what am I going to do if I get in a fire? And then we have this thing as humans, or as good humans, that we can't break rules. And that sounds silly, but your mind, when that heart rate has gone from 1 to 1,000, it still counts in your mind that, well, I can't do anything bad. I can't break the wall. I can't go through the ceiling because I can't damage anything. Because unfortunately, as good people, our mind reverts to that I still have to follow the rules. So we always talk about in the mall, and I don't know why I always say the Gap. I always say the Gap, but we're in the mall. We have videos of people in mall shootings where the bad guy's over here, but they know their car's over there too. So they will run back by the bad guy trying to get to their car because they're panicking. And I always say, every store in that mall has a back entrance. Run past the Gap, run past the manager. You can do this. So again, though, if you've never thought about this when you're out and about, okay, I don't want doom and gloom. We're not trying to get everyone panicky. We're just talking about when you go into a venue, a place, a store, whatever it is, quick glance. You go into Publix, there's doors behind the deli that lead outside. There the bakery is, there's doors behind the bakery. There's the door in the middle where they have all the groceries and stuff. All that stuff leads outside. So again, not paranoia, not freaking out, just if something goes bad, I know there's 3 other doors and I'm going to head the other way. So it's as simple as that, to pre-plan before I'm panicking what I might do if something goes bad. So we're still focusing on the deliberation phase, decision making. We know how telling your spouse or significant other to calm down, that does not work, but you can tell yourself, I have to calm down. I have to figure out a way to survive this thing. So combat breathing, we always talk about that. You don't have to be in the military. You don't have to be one of us. That's just that your kid has done something so horrific that before you choke them out, you go, and you breathe just a little bit. You got to bring your heart rate down and just say, okay, I've got to make good decisions here. So shifting your emotion. As human beings, when we are frightened, we are not good at making decisions. So you have to change that. You have to change that, whether you want to call it anger, whether you want to call it determination, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is in your mind, this person is not going to get me. This fire is not going to get me. This bad situation is not going to take my life. I'm going to do something better. So you have to shift that emotion to not be afraid to turn it into something else. So of course they say stay fit. We obviously need to be able to get ourselves out of whatever situation this is in. So we're talking about when you're out and about. So that's your homework. You go to Publix next time. Of course you came in the main door, but just find the door. There's a door over there. There's a hallway over there. What am I going to do if something goes bad? So that's scripting and practicing, of course. And again, not paranoia, just scripting, practicing. What am I going to do? So one of our best examples that we always use is Captain Sully when he put the plane in the Hudson. So remember that. I hope you saw the movie. It's a great movie. So hopefully everybody knows about this and has seen that. But remember, he's in a tube, 200 souls are behind him, and his decisions within seconds decides whether these people live or die. So we're going to listen to his audio real quick. He is Cactus 1549, I believe it is. But remember, the other thing I always try to remind everybody of this, he's not at like 10,000 feet. I've got all this unlimited time to start making decisions. This was on the ascent, and I believe it's about 32 seconds when they hit the birds. He's got to make choices right now or they die. And so listen to him, how calm he is, and then we'll talk about that.
Cactus 1539 hit birds to lost thrust on both engines returning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading up 220.
220.
Stop your departures, got emergency returning. It's 1529. He bird strike, he lost all engine, he lost the thrust in the engines, he's returning immediately.
Cactus 1529, which engines?
He lost thrust in both engines, he said.
Got it.
Cactus 1529. We can get it to you if you want to try to land runway 13.
We're unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
All right, Cactus 1529. It's going to be less traffic to runway 31.
Unable.
Okay, what do you need to land? Cactus 1549, runway 4 is available if you want to make left traffic to runway 4.
Idiot. I'm not sure we make any runway. What's over to our right? Anything in New Jersey? Maybe Teterboro?
Okay, yeah, off your right side is Teterboro Airport. Do you want to try to go to Teterboro?
Yes.
Teterboro, Empire, actually, LaGuardia Departure Guy, emergency inbound. Cactus 1529, turn right 280, you can land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the Hudson.
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus? Cactus 15.9, radar contact is lost. You also got Newark Airport up at 2 o'clock in about 7 miles. Eagle 54718, turn left thing 210.
210, 2718. I think he said he was going in the Hudson.
So we know that story, of course. We know that fortunately he did go in the Hudson. You know, there were some minor injuries and stuff like that, but he saved all those people's lives. So what he always talked about, if you guys remember that, he had flown combat missions and then he had flown commercial for many years. He always talked about his knowledge and experience was like putting money in the bank in case he ever had to make the big withdrawal. Well, of course, this was the big withdrawal, and that's what saved all these people's lives. So we talk about the equivalency of hiding and hoping is when he gave him that first runway, like you can take runway 4, whatever it was, if he tried to turn the plane around, he would have killed everybody on the plane, would have very likely killed people on the ground. So fortunately, he was able to take care of that and save those people. But again, he talked about every time he took off, he looked at the ground. Is there a roadway there? Is there a waterway there? Is there a field? And he just had it in his mind. It's kind of like, you know, the way we try to teach driving to our kids. You know, when you come to an intersection, you know, don't go through it a million miles an hour. Pay attention. If this guy pulls out, where am I going to go? So again, just pre-planning. So we'll keep moving here. We're going to talk about some of the active shooter events. So the definition, unfortunately, this is just attempted mass murder. These aren't normally domestics. These are not normally robberies or anything like that. These are just cowards trying to kill people. And I'm sure every city in the world thinks they're wide open, but I look at these buildings up and down Windward and Haynes Bridge and all these things that obviously the world's different right now, but they normally have 3,000 to 5,000 people in them. They're unprotected. And unfortunately, that's what these cowards often pick, is a place like that. So we talk about the shooter, the profile of them. You know, the FBI spends millions of dollars and they try to come up with, you know, he's a white male, lives in his mom's basement, this and that. Well, these events have been so all over the board. There is no specific profile. It's been a male 99% of the times. There have been some females that have gone with them, but it's been very rare. It's the Avenger mindset. That only makes sense. Of course, he's been wronged for whatever it is, and he's going to get back at the world. The craziest thing about that, though, is that many times, whether we want to talk about mental illness or anything else, the craziest thing about these situations is usually it's over something minor. It's not even something that really matters. They're mad because Tom gets the front parking spot every day and I don't get it. And it just festers in their mind. So the broadcasting part that they talk here, whether it's social media, whether it's, you know, saying the things in the lunchroom or whatever, every time these events happen, people go, you know what? I knew he was the one. I knew he was going to be the one to do something like this one day. Well, unfortunately, these events are not slowing down. They're getting worse. This is on all of us. So when you say, I knew he was the one, why didn't you say something to someone? If you don't have the rapport with that person, that's what you have HR for. That's what you have counselors for. If it's that bad, that's why you report it to law enforcement. But again, the fact that many times they're just mad about something that's so dumb that these people could actually be talked down many times if someone would at least approach them and try to have that conversation. You know, the loudmouth in the office or whatever, someone needs to talk to them or find someone that can at least. So this graph, I'm gonna let it populate real quick if it will start. It's acting weird on the PowerPoint, but let's see. All right, these dots, we'll watch these in just a second. This represents, unfortunately, where the different events have happened. The FBI stats are always behind, so this one isn't as current as I'd like it to be, but we'll let it populate real quick. Everybody always says I'm moving to Montana after they see this part, so. Unfortunately, they get more and more each year. So So that was 316 events from 2000 up to 2018 when these stats were done. So the interesting thing though, when you see all that, we all assume because we watch the TV and we watch the media and everything else that all of these happen at churches and schools. Well, it's usually commerce. It's all of our businesses, it's our malls, it's our retail places and everything else. And again, the common thread is that it's usually a place where there's many people that are unprotected. So education does come in next, just a little over 20%. There's outdoor venues and then just what they just specify as other. But 50% of the time, for easy math, this is what was always surprising to me, is that the shooter has no connection half of the time. We always think of the mad guy that's going to go back and get his boss. And of course, that has happened, unfortunately. But many times they have no connection to that building. They're just picking that big giant target with the most people in it. So that was Chattanooga, Orlando with the Pulse nightclub. The crazy thing in there, I can never again second guess anyone or anything else, but from the debriefs, this guy had ran out of bullets and he had these people so terrified that he's reloading magazines. It's like, why didn't someone knock him out with a liquor bottle? Or, and again, they're just so frightened. And I just wish, we could get this message to everyone. We're going to talk about that later. Your choice is to fight when it gets that bad. So Edmond, Oklahoma is the original going postal, where he came back and killed his coworkers. This slide on the very right is a girl named Christina Anderson, Christina with a K. We're going to talk about her with Virginia Tech in just a little bit. That's Mumbai, Garland, Texas, Las Vegas, of course. So they bring up terrorist threats in this presentation for the sole reason that it doesn't matter. We can figure out later, we can watch debriefs, we can watch news reports and everything else to try to figure out why. The only reason they bring it up in this presentation, we don't want anyone ever focusing on that when something's happening. It doesn't matter who's trying to hurt you. Someone's trying to hurt you, let's figure out a way to get out of here. We'll worry about all the other stuff later. So again, immediate response to a threat, I'm getting myself safe, I'm going, it doesn't matter who it is. So Aurora, Colorado was very important. Again, we learned from these things. It's a horrible event, but what happened there, that was the Batmere premiere. And if we had a big enough map, you'd see that the police were on one side, medics were on the side, and the fire people were on the other side. What happens traditionally is there's a hot zone, a warm zone, and a cold zone. So a hot zone, I'm sorry, is full active threat. Someone is in there shooting right now. So of course, only the police can go into that. A warm zone, that's where maybe he shot someone in one room and he ran out. We're not sure where he is or anything else. There could be more, we don't know. Cold zone is when the police have gone through whatever building it is. I have looked under every desk. I have looked in every closet and everything else. So again, imagine like a school, that's 2 hours by the time we clear a building like that. And traditionally, even 2012, people are dying from, they could have a tourniquet could save their life, even just they're going into shock because they've been shot, but it's not even a life-threatening injury, but because they're not getting medical treatment. So what has changed? We were one of the first agencies in the Southeast to start teaching it. They call it tiers. They have different names for it now, but when we at least get it to a warm zone now where I know I own this room, I know there's not a bad guy in here and I've got injured in here, we start bringing in medics and we start scooping people out. But that is nowhere near as advanced as we wish it had been in the past. It's very good now. It's called Rescue Task Force Teams, RDFs, and most agencies do it now. But traditionally, you got to remember all these agencies. You got the police that think they're going to do it this way, the medics are going to do it this way, and the fire are going to do it this way. So it's quite a challenge to get all these people on the same page. And of course, that's evolving, but it's still a work in progress. So we talk about where they've done everything right. Sandy Hook was the school where they had the locks on the front door. They shot through the glass. They killed the lady at the front, unfortunately. They go to the first classroom. The teacher had turned off the lights. She had hid the kids. And she had locked the door. He jiggles the door, goes to the next classroom. The teacher had hid the kids, turned off the lights. She forgot to lock the door. And unfortunately, he went in engaging people. So that's what we're talking about, is this time crunch. We talked about that earlier. These events usually last 5 to 7 minutes, and they usually resolve once there's any resistance. So something as simple as locking a door can save your life in these types of situations. So that's why when you're at work, school, or the places that you regularly go, which doors do lock, which doors don't lock, which ones have a steel door. Again, not doom and gloom, not paranoia, just thinking about these things every once in a while as you get, as you're in these spaces. So we're finally getting to your part. We talk about how you must be prepared to respond. The number of deaths, of course, depend on how quickly we can get to you. We've talked about target availability. They pick a big building with a bunch of people very often. And then we talked about that 3 minutes. Remember, 3 minutes is me pulling in the parking lot. But again, how long is it going to take for me to find you in your suite, your office, or whatever it is? So it seems kind of overly dramatic that they leave that in there, but there's a point to it. By that third shot, our brain should be kicking in like, I need to be doing something. And that's what this whole thing's about. Oh my God, this is real. I need to be reacting and I need to do something. So as they say, don't deny, go to deliberation, which is that decision-making phase. We talked about hiding and hoping is not the answer. There may be a time to barricade and there may be a time to do things, but what people are very good about, there's no real difference between this concept and the run, hide, fight videos that everyone used to do. The feds always did run, hide, fight. But when time would go by, what people would remember is just run, hide. They didn't remember, first of all, they don't want to fight. So they would, the first closet, the first little alcove they could hide in, they would do that and they would stay there. Well, again, 5 to 7 minutes, but also the other stat that they have proven after all these years, something different can happen, but it's always been one person. The few times it's been two, they have stayed together. So on any kind of big building, think of the church, of course, if they are on one side of that church, there is no reason for you to hide right in this spot right here. You need to be across the parking lot, across Warsaw, running down Mansell Road before you're staying there. We had that big mess at Fiserv. I don't know how many heard about that, where someone unfortunately hit it. They had what was called an active shooter alarm, which is kind of an odd thing. Most places don't have that. But what happened there was just someone pushed the alarm and people started freaking out, to make it very quick. But people found the first closet they could, and they'd get 14 people in this tiny closet and they stayed there. Well, that's what we're talking about. Your mind should be going, okay, I know there's supposedly a threat here, but I don't hear it. So I am getting my butt out of this building and I am not going to be here by the time this guy gets here. So that's the whole point of all this. You have to keep moving. And then people will say, well, if I run and I hear something, what do? Then you have to have enough mental capability to do something different. If he's right there, you obviously have to go somewhere else. But again, under stress, people can't think that way. So that's why we have to pre-plan it and think about it. So avoid, deny, defend is the acronym they use now. We're going to watch this video real quick. It is a reenactment, of course. It is not real. It was done in conjunction with like a Sam's, Walmart. So it just looks like a big giant store. So we're going to watch this real quick and talk about it if I can get my cursor over. All right, here it comes.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Actually, I think he's got a truck. I don't know if your daughter would be interested.
There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
Issues that we found. Okay, Emily, see what that is. See what's going on. Just let us know what you find.
There you go. Okay, you're safe for that. There's a guy with a gun shooting. Look, James, what do I do? No, look! Run! 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 To the right! To the right! To the loading dock! Come on, this way! This way! This way! Oh, no, come here! Yeah, in here! In here! The gunman's coming. What are we gonna do? We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're gonna see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight. All right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun! Get the gun! Ah. Hold him down! Hold him down! Yes, we're all gonna go home. Everybody's going home. Yeah.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together, should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and locking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, you can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming. What are we going to do? We're going to have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts.
I'm not sure. There's 3 of us in the room. We're on
This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
All right, that is our video. I realize it's a little slow and the acting is stellar, but it gives all the right points. It gives a slow motion representation of what we need to do. So it's good to hear it. We're going to go through it again real quick. Avoid, we keep saying the same thing over and over. Get out, get out, get out. That is your first priority. If there is any way to get away from this situation, we need to recognize it, get away from it. There's nothing out of play, whether it's breaking through walls, whether it's breaking windows, whether it's, jumping out of, if I'm on second floor, maybe even third floor, if there's trees close enough, I'm going to try that before I'm going to sit here waiting for the guy to come down the hall with a rifle. So they talk about calling 911. Well, of course you have to call 911, but one thing they said, and people will forget, again, we have videos of people, there's a bad guy right here with a gun and they're still calling 911. You have to be safe first. And unless you know something so much more than everyone else, like I actually know that guy, I know what he drives, I know where he lives, there's already 47 people calling 911. So you have to get yourself safe first. Then we'll worry about calling 911 because it's already being done. So talked about secondary exits. Again, you know, wherever you are, is there a roof hatch? You know, if you work there every day, you should know. Is it accessible? I don't know, but you should find out. So talking about denying. So this is, unfortunately, this thing is this close. So what are we going to do? We're going to barricade, which again, people are good at that. But, you know, it's not TV where you prop one little chair up against it. If we're barricaded in this room, we are using everything we have to slam up against this door, but we don't stop, because that's what people do, is they barricade and they stop. While I'm barricading the door, someone else is going through the drywall, or they're going through the ceiling tiles if it's the right place, or through the floor if it's the right type of building. So again, you can't stop until you're safe. We talked about that, heavier the better. You know, they were talking about different ropes and different cinches and things you can use. Again, best idea is to get away, but we're going to use whatever we can to try to stop this person. So this is the part nobody likes. It's the part about defending or fighting the guy. So what's the magic answer to fighting this guy? Nothing. It's just math. Again, it's usually one, a few times it's been two. It's all of us against them. So they talked about lining up against the wall where the door is, of course. You don't want to be the guy in the corner opposite of the bad guy coming in, because of course you're just a simple target. So if it gets to that point where this guy's actually going to breach this door or wall or whatever it is, we'd want to be lined up beside him, and anything we have, we all just have to attack this guy. So we have this thing called the OODA loop. It's the where your mind he has a plan. He knows what he wants to do. If you can do anything to disrupt that plan, even throwing a pencil, throwing a book at this person is just enough to stop that plan, and we all tackle him and we all knock him down. So this isn't some long drawn out MMA fight or anything else. It's just enough to knock this person down so we can start escaping and doing whatever we need to do. So this is Lieutenant Brian Murphy. We're talking about mindset. This whole thing is about mindset. So Lieutenant Murphy, he goes to a temple where an active shooter event is going on. He pops out of his car. He is shot 13 times. And there's no pretending that the perfect round couldn't have killed him right away, but it didn't. First round hits him in the chin and goes down his neck and everything else. Many people would die of shock. People get shot in the hand and die of shock. But Lieutenant Murphy, you can read it right there. He said, I'm going home. I'm going to my kids. I'm going to survive this. And that's the mindset you have to have. If you're still thinking, if you're still comprehending what's going on, you have to fight through this. Because again, it's getting much better, but how long is that medical delay? How long, you know, are you going to have to wait till somebody shows up with a rifle in their hand? It's, you know, this is on you for that amount of time. And obviously we hope it's as short as it can be. Virginia Tech, we're going to breeze through this real quick. I know we've been going kind of long here, but that girl, Christina Anderson, she's in her classroom, and she's in the first classroom as this guy comes in. So if you remember, and I hope you guys have realized purposely through all this, we don't name bad guys. We do not give them any more credit than they, you know, try to get when these things happen. So we don't talk or care about them. We care about the victims. So he goes to Norris Hall. It's got those big wood doors there. He had chained him shut from the inside, of course, to slow down the law enforcement response. This is the second floor. So Christina Anderson is in the first room. That's just how the rooms are laid out. I'll populate this graph real quick. So Christina, again, Christina with a K, if you look her up, she did many podcasts. There's all kinds of YouTube stories, and it's very powerful to hear her account of this. So she's in the first room, doors ajar, he comes in, there's no avoiding, there's no denying. The only thing they could have possibly done was defend, but of course, these are kids, these are our college kids. They're sitting at those little tiny college desks, and he goes up and down the aisle and he's just shooting people. So he finishes in that room, he goes to the next room and he's just shooting people. He gets to the third room, Dr. Levi Lebrescu's in there, he's a Holocaust survivor. He blocks the door with his body and he starts screaming at the kids, get out, get out, get out. So that's when finally someone's trying to offer some resistance. Well, unfortunately, he kills Levi, but people are getting out the windows now. So as he makes his way down the hall, he gets to the very last room. The kids and the teacher had laid on the ground with their hands and feet holding the door shut. He had shot through the door, but he didn't get anyone. So again, time crunch. He knows the police are coming. He knows he has very limited time. Well, what Christina talks about is they're in that first classroom. They hear this thing get a little bit fainter, but now, unfortunately, he's coming back and he's going into these classrooms where people still are. She's saying, I have to play possum. I can't let him see me breathe, you know, this type of thing. Unfortunately, he makes it all the way back to her classroom and he shoots her again. Well, we wouldn't be talking about her if she didn't survive, but what she talked about is like, we'd never dreamed something bad could happen to us. Why didn't we do something? She's like, we're the first classroom by the stairs. When he's down the hallway in these other classrooms, why weren't we running? Why weren't we trying to get people out? Again, they had never thought about that. Our kids should not ever have to think about that, but unfortunately they do. So we rewind on this, you know, if somehow we could have gotten the kids to think is if we could have gotten this training to them, 32 people died in this attack before this coward killed himself. In that first classroom, there's no pretending that people wouldn't have gotten hurt, but in that first classroom, if they just started flipping desks at him and they'd all attacked him, we would have lost a couple of people instead of 32. So again, Christina Anderson, very powerful to hear her story. This is Dr. Levi Labrescu. This was, I'm going to skip this video, but that is from the, it's called the 1514 to Paris, I believe it's called. It was the movie that they made about the Paris train heroes. So you've got the three guys on the train. A guy pops up with an AK-47. So I keep talking about all these things, being in these buildings or being in a church or a store where are you going to go on a train? There's no choice. So of course, these guys attack him and they stop him and they foil this plot. One of them, when you watch the movie, he's got his finger on the guy's carotid artery, keeping him alive until they can finally help someone. But again, that's just the mindset you have to have, that something goes bad, I'm part of it, I'm going to do whatever I can to fix it. So fortunately, those guys were heroes. And that movie, it's very powerful to watch it. It's kind of like our video. The acting isn't the greatest because they actually let the guys that this happened to be the actors so they could get the fame for it. So, but it's very powerful to watch. So you're not helpless, what you do matters. This, we've talked over and over kind of about the priority of work for us. When we come in, of course, I can't stop for, unfortunately, if there's a wounded person because I'm going to the threat. If someone is still shooting, I am running towards the bullet and we have to neutralize that person. So second step, of course, is stopping the dying. That's when we start getting medics in, start scooping people out as quickly as we can. Last step is evacuating the area and making it a huge crime scene. So he talked about a little bit in there about when the police arrive, what you do. So this isn't a macho cop story, like you got to do what we tell you. This is, imagine something happening here. You've got 100 of us, you know, who knows how many are at work. There's usually at least 30, 40, 50 of us here. You've got Roswell, you've got Sandy Springs, you've got Forsyth. If one of these events happened, you've literally got 300 people flying there as quickly as they can with rifles in their hands. So remember, we don't know who the bad guy is. So when we're screaming hands up and everything else, people panic. Thank God the police are here. They rush at us. Well, we don't know. You're the good guy, the bad guy. We have no idea. So that's why, you know, if you want to complain on me later, say I was mean and I made you lay in a mud puddle, by all means do that. But you have to have in your mindset, God forbid I'm caught in this situation. I'm going to do whatever they want and then we'll figure it out afterwards. So, and of course, we watch the hands. We're going to talk about weapons in a minute. We've kind of talked about this too. So what I do when we're in a building, I always talk about where's your AED, who knows how to use it, who's trained to use it. And then I always say you should have pressure bandages and tourniquets in that same cabinet because they're cheap nowadays. You can get a pack of tourniquets for like $20 on Amazon now. And they're like, you know, you can get 4 or 5 of them for that. And the likelihood of all this, I have to be honest, you know, it's very unlikely any of us are going to go through this, thank goodness. But what about the guy on the lawnmower out there? What if he cuts his arm off? You're going to feel useless if you don't know how to use a tourniquet and don't know how to apply it. So that's why, again, medics are coming, yes, but you could certainly save that life. So that's why EMS training, you know, even if you literally watch Google things and everything else, this stuff should be on your mind that if something bad happens, I'm going to be part of the solution here. So again, breathing and bleeding is what we have to fix. So those are the things, that's our priorities to do that. So obviously, you know, unfortunately, often the mental trauma is way worse than the physical trauma. And, you know, obviously you would need help if something like this happens. So I'm going to back up 1 second because people always ask us about guns. So I will preface right from the beginning, we have zero politics on guns. That's not my conversation here. What my conversation is it's easy to buy a gun. Well, let's say that you, of course, you're legally authorized to have one and, you know, there's nothing barring you from having a gun. Second step in this phase here is being able to use it safely without hurting yourself and anyone else. Then we get to the third step. So we can all have this conversation with ourselves. If I'm in that bad of a situation, Do I have the fortitude to pull the trigger on this thing? There's many people that walk around with guns and permits that will tell you flat out that even if someone was shooting at me, I wouldn't be able to shoot them. You shouldn't have a gun if that's the situation. So you're just giving that person another weapon. The fourth step, and the biggest step to me, is what I was just talking about, all these hyped up cops flying at you with weapons and everything else. What are you going to do when you see us? Okay, you're the good guy. So if the bad guy's over there, you're going to be going, he's over there. What it looks like to me is you're shooting somebody because you're pointing this gun at somebody. So going all the way back to our scripting and practicing. So if I am that person, whether you carry a weapon or whether I'm going to go to my car to get a weapon or whatever, I think it's wonderful if you can intervene and you can do it in the right way. But when we show up, if God forbid you had to shoot someone, or if hopefully you just pointed them at that person and that stopped this event from happening, when you see us, it has to be put down, put back in the purse, throw it in a planner, let everybody jump on the bad guy, whatever, but you cannot be holding that gun when we show up. And there's, again, I always talk about mall shootings because it seems like that's where all the videos come from, but off-duty cops and civilians have been killed many times because here comes the cop with the rifle, and whether it's a cop or a civilian, he's going, he's over there, and it looks like he's shooting. And unfortunately, people have been killed that way. So again, responsible gun ownership is thinking this entire process through. When I see the cops, I'm dropping it, I'm putting it away, or whatever I'm doing. So that's my spiel on guns. So that is the end of this presentation. We have talked about a whole lot of stuff. There's a stop the bleed component we do sometimes, but again, the most important thing of that is bleeding and breathing. So whatever it takes to stop that bleeding, we have tourniquets, you know, whether you use a belt or anything else, you guys should make yourself knowledgeable about those things. When the world's normal, our fire department out here at North Park, the senior center out there, every third Saturday it was, hopefully this will start again very soon. They taught AED on one Saturday of the month, and then the next month they did first responder training. So it's free programs. There's plenty of them out there. So you don't have to pay for CPR and all these other things. There's plenty of free programs out there if you seek it. So that is the hopefully quick version of all this. I know we've kind of gone long on time, and I know that I appreciate you guys having me. So
Thank you.
a lot to think about. I don't ever want this, like I said a few times before, this is not doom and gloom. I don't want you freaking out. Your instincts are the best things you have. So we always talk about the people working late in their business. They walk out in the parking lot, and even if they don't see a specific person, the hair on the back of the neck standing up, and they've kind of got the heebie-jeebies, but they'll go anyway because they don't want to listen to that. Your instincts, whether you're going to articulate why it's bothering you, it doesn't matter. It's if something doesn't seem right, listen to your gut instinct and do something different. Go back in, have the police escort you out if that's the right place, the right situation. We talk about, you know, we've all got pepper spray in our purse or in our pocket or whatever like that. But if it's in a bag this big and you don't have it in your hand when you walk out, you're never going to find it if you get surprised by someone. So again, pre-thinking, what am I going to do if something goes bad?
Thank you, Officer Shoffreitt. Carlton, do we have any questions that came in?
Besides, why is this guy still talking?
No.
No, not yet, Patty. No, there aren't any questions yet.
Okay. So
one of the things, and if you don't mind, one of the things people always ask us about is schools. Do we teach this in the schools? That's, you know, politics and everything else comes involved. And I don't mean politics. I mean that the schools have their own agencies, so we don't try to tread on anything they're doing, and we don't try to, you know, mess with whatever rules and things they have in place. But what I will tell you is, you know, again, by going by the stats, especially a school like Alpharetta High School that has all these crazy different wings, if something's happening in the A building, there should be 2,000 kids running across the track. But people are quick to lock down. And again, that's, everybody has their own protocols. So what I'm getting at by saying that, when we talk to individuals, I tell every kid from this high up that can comprehend, if you have an opportunity to get out, because that shooting is not here, it's way on the other side, be 2 miles away, because I want to chase you. I want to find you in the woods running around somewhere instead of in a classroom. So.
Hal, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Lead off. First of all, that was great. That was a great presentation. Do you have any idea how many shooters have been apprehended by squad arriving on scene versus someone
I do not have the numbers, but what I can tell you is that most of them are, they kill themselves.
Well, I was going to ask versus those who have taken their lives.
Most of them have taken their lives because that's usually their plan. They've already, they've gone down this rabbit hole so far that know that that's how it's going to end. So, sometimes they'll wound one and he doesn't have the chance to kill himself because he's incapacitated, but it's almost always they take their life. So.
Yeah. Well, this is the point in time, and thank you. I'm telling, my heart was racing again during the video. So I get how I can't imagine it live. So this is the point where our Zoom host, Tom Wilson, will be breaking us into small groups. And Hal, you are welcome to stay on and